Hi, I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where I break down all the goals scored in the Premier League. And today we're going to be doing Newcastle against Tottenham, and there's a lot I want to talk about straight away at the beginning as well, about people talking about Ange Postecoglou, is actually say his name, hopefully, and about people having a plan A and about a plan B in football. And when people say that, you automatically know they know absolutely nothing about building a football team, right? And if people go, oh yeah, but it's not working with his plan A, well, he doesn't care. And if you don't understand why he doesn't care if it's not working with his plan A, you just stop analysing football. You hear it all the time on TV because they just don't know what they're talking about, right? The reason why you keep doing your point A is because if you try to change to a point B, and I'm talking about Postecoglou in his system in his first year at Spurs. If he's in his fourth year at Spurs, yeah, he might have a bit of a plan B, but he's not, and he's in his first year. It takes a minimum of 3 years to have your team train and play your system. 3 years. That's how long it takes for everyone to know their roles and responsibilities. And what I mean for everyone is everybody knows what everybody else is supposed to be doing, not just their job. It's easy to understand and go, right, I'm with this and I'm supposed to do that. No. Understanding the system is everybody understands the system. Everybody knows everything about what everyone's supposed to do. And that takes time. And if you chop and change, you stop and start, all you end up doing is saying a couple of things to your players. Number one, my system doesn't work. Don't trust in it. Number two, all the momentum that you gained from last week, they lose this week. Number three, which is the most important one, is how are they beating my system? What do I need to fix with players, personnel, other little roles and responsibilities to stop them beating my system? What have they cracked? What's the little thing that they've done? Right, so what they did is they put two players wide, Newcastle did, with some pace, and they exposed this little three here. Okay, great. Doesn't matter, because that's not going to happen next week, because they're not as fast as us next week, so we're not really fussed. If that happens, okay, we need to worry about that, but getting faster left and right backs is on my personnel structure for year two anyway, so I'm not really worried about that. And that's what you need to be looking at. And what all these other morons go is they go, every single game is massively important because you're going to win the Premier League. Well, you're not, because that's only going to be Arsenal and Man City, so everybody else is playing for second best. So what you're really doing there is trying to build a team structure that lasts so you can challenge. It's called development. You're winning as you're developing your team. And they don't understand this because they don't understand development. They don't understand building team structure. They don't understand building cohesiveness in the football club. They just go, it's a game on Saturday and we have to win and we didn't win, so now everything is bad. Oh, we won and now everything is good. No, you're morons. That's why you're idiots on TV and no one trusts you. These ex-pros, you have a whole plan and a structure that you want to achieve over a certain amount of time. And you can't do that by having your system exposed sometimes and winning other times. Now, actually, when I start breaking down these goals, there is a couple of problems with the system, but it's not also that they're a bit unlucky. So when you look at it and you're analysing it and going, right, was my system right? Did the players do the right thing? Because here's the other part. If you're looking at this right here, so, because I'm not sure how he's setting up his defence. Is he got two players that are marking and a sweeper? Is that what he's doing? And when I mean a sweeper, I mean someone who's clearing up the danger after mistakes have happened. Now, if that's the case, and this guy's got too far forward, well, it's not the system. The player just hasn't done exactly what I needed him to do. And that's a lot of what's going on here and a lot of what people just don't understand in football. They can't tell you the difference of why the system did work or didn't work. They'll just say it's not working, we need a plan B. What's not working? Is the other team defending it properly, or are we not executing it correctly? What's not working? And when you actually get into the details, I promise you they will never be able to tell you because they don't know what they're talking about. What are the details? Why is it not working? Were they exposed out wide for two pacey guys and their three didn't cover it and this guy here wasn't covering it properly? Or the two wide guys weren't marked correctly and these two let them sneak in behind and they weren't doing their jobs properly? Which one was it? Was the Newcastle players better or were the Spurs players worse? They won't be able to tell you because they don't actually know what the Spurs players need to be doing and they don't actually know what the Newcastle players need to be doing, which is absolutely, to me, hilarious. But let's try to get on to this first goal. So when this ball comes over the top here, the defender actually does a good job. Because of the bounce, gets close enough, and now he's in a situation where he can challenge and win the ball. Now here's the other problem. What's this guy doing? And what's this guy doing? If he's a defender, now is his job to come and back up this guy, or is his job to cover out people wide? Don't know, because I haven't looked at Postecoglou's tactics for this session or this exact game. What he should, and this is the difference, because he's not playing a traditional system. He's doing some different things and letting his players play a little bit. So you don't exactly know what his role is. Is his role to be a free defender and covering gaps? We don't know. So what you can analyse, though, is these two players here. And as this breaks here and bounces, the defender actually wins the ball and he's got it. So it's not the system, because the player's got the ball. So if the player makes a mistake from now on, there is no issue with the system whatsoever. It's on the player not doing something correctly. Let's see what the player doesn't do. Oh, he gets pushed off the ball because he's not strong enough. So the player gets pushed off the ball. Wow, is the system got anything to do with the player's strength? No, it doesn't. So right there, we know that it's not necessarily the system. That guy needs to be stronger. Maybe my defender needs to be a little bit better on that 1v1 situation, because he's covered perfect. He's done everything right. He's got the ball. He just hasn't kept possession of the ball or released the ball. So that's a problem that we need to look at. Now, after he's weak and he fell on the floor like a baby, we're looking at the other defender out wide. Now he's getting suckered into the ball. See, this is what I'm talking about, because if this guy was playing in a deep position role, he would be going towards that player, and this guy would be tracking his runner. He's not. So that's completely and utterly on these two players doing something that the system probably doesn't ask them to do. Someone needs to be tracking the runner, which is probably the closest player to the runner. They don't do that, and the deep lining player needs to be the first one to pressure the ball to get him back on his feet and come back. He doesn't do that. He ends up running away. So we've got two major problems here. And that's clearly the players, not the system. So this easy through ball can happen. Bosch as it goes through, and off he goes to the races. All because one player's weak, one player gets sucked in, and this guy here basically doesn't do anything. If you actually think about it and watch what he's doing in the game as a deep lining player, he's actually not doing anything. He was running back a bit, didn't challenge with the ball over here. When his teammate made a mistake, he didn't back him up. When his teammate's running in, making a mistake, well, he's not doing anything. So something's fundamentally flawed there, and I promise you, it ain't going to be the system. It's going to be the players not executing it correctly, because one's fallen over and one's got suckered in, and they haven't quite executed it correctly. Next thing, when the player does come over and he does finally get close enough, he falls over. He slips. Now, is that because the player is in the wrong place? Yeah, actually it is. He's over accelerated and he's actually helped himself slip over. And Isaac's done him with a bit of skill. I like Isaac. Think he's a good striker. But he's fallen over there. So it's not your system. If your player's fallen, we've got two players that have fallen over. We've got two players that are weak and have done things wrong. It's not the system. But there we go. Put it into the net box. Bosch gets himself a goal. So this comes from a goalkeeper's kicked the ball out. There's a good challenge here from the Newcastle players. The keeper's just got rid of it. And the Newcastle player knocks his ball forward. Now this is where it gets kind of interesting. This guy now doesn't bring the ball down, take a touch. He smacks it back at his keeper, and this guy ends up picking it up. This is nothing to do with the system. This is to do with the player being a moron. All he has to do is take a touch on the ball, and then he can start playing football. And he doesn't. He does something which is erratic and crazy, and he knocks the ball into his own 18-yard box on the bounce. Why is it important it's on the bounce? Because that's harder to control, harder to deal with, and then everything else from that point becomes a problem. Now, here's the other issue. I don't know if this player is thinking he's got the technique to dink it to his teammate there, which he's probably trying to do, and he gets it wrong, and he goes between the keeper and his mate. Bosch puts it over his mate's head, and then there's all sorts of problems. Look, and he's got his arms up. What? It's not my fault. Yes, mate, it's completely your fault. Again, that's not the system. It's a player executing something incorrectly, where he's doing something dumb. He could have ran down here. He could have kept the possession of the ball, come down here, and got a throw in, playing it off the player, or giving it to the goalkeeper this way, so he can go out the other way. Could have done a myriad of things. He chose not to. He dinked it over the guy because he's a muppet. Good little turn by the strike here. Now, the other concerning thing, you've got that covering defender again. Now, he's come in too fast, he's overcovered, and the striker's beaten him again. So that's twice that's happened. So that player's been beaten twice by a similar situation where he's had to come over. He's it's not over aggressive, but he's having to sprint so much harder to get there. And is that the reason he's getting done inside Dosh? And then they can finish the goal. So that's twice that's happened. So that's either he's out of position, or he's not fast enough, or when he does, in a 1v1 situation, he's getting beaten too easily because he's getting done by that cut, and he doesn't have the actual athleticism and body shape to stay up correctly when the guy just smashes it into the goal. They're important factors, and that has nothing to do with the system. So this is what we're looking at, exactly the game. It's similar to the first goal, where we've got 1, 2, and we've got 3. This time he's man marked. He's 1v1 here. Now, this is a great run where the actual guy on the ball knows how to play football. Well done, young man. He puts it into the space and he lets the player go and get it. The player helps by making himself a nice little curved run, keeping himself onside, which is really quality, but it's all about putting the ball in the space, and then it's a foot race. Now, here's the other interesting part. This guy here is with Isaac here. Now, is this just sheer pace? Has he just been beaten completely and utterly by pace? And I'm telling you, the answer is no, it's not pace. What's happened? Watch this defender's movement. Watch what he does wrong. When Isaac's first steps are to run, his first steps are to go the other way. Watch. Do you see how he goes the other way? Bump, bump. What are you doing? Right, so this is why this is so important. If you are a defender at this level and you're understanding what your job is, can you see what this guy's doing? He's pulling the trigger. You can see he is striking the ball. You're the last guy back. You're on the halfway line. You know he's going to be onside because you're up that high. You're the last player and you're in their side of the field. So this is an execution again of the player getting it wrong. Bump, 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 bump. Not the system. However, he's probably thinking he's about here and he's going to step up and play him offside. No, player's got it wrong. This guy's pulling the trigger and he is not going with his runner. And at this moment here, Isaac's about to break the offside trap and he's going, oh bugger. Now, when I mean going with the runner, I don't mean he needs to set off like on a grey horse hound pace after him. He just needs to start walking in his direction so he's close enough. Do you see how he stood still? And if he's just walking along the line, keeping him offside, just getting a little bit closer, 2 or 3 yards, those 2 or 3 yards help him because he stood still for, I normally do, that's how long he stood still for, 1, 2, when he could have walked 1, 2, so he'd have been 2 steps further forward, and then he would have been closer to Isaac. And then if you look at the point when the shot's being taken, he's 2 yards away. Oh, wait, was he 2 yards away a minute ago when we called that? Yes. So there's the problem. That's the issue. That's what needs to be going on. And if you're a coach and you're looking at these things, you actually know what you're talking about. You're going, right, okay, yeah. We've got done because he's kind of switched off, and I know this centre-back is this and that, but he does this, and we've got to make sure that doesn't happen again, and we've got to, talk through that scenario again. Absolutely fine. Isaac does what he does, finishes the goal, quality, good strike. I think, as well, this is one of the other things, I think the keeper should be been out further. He's sitting on his line almost. He's not out. I want him in that situation out past his 6-yard box. I do. I want him making that angle closer. He hasn't helped, so he hasn't tried to stop Isaac, really. He's just stood there. It's not really good enough from the keeper. Last but not least is this final goal here. When we're looking, you can see already, look, this is well done by Newcastle. Player's completely free. Everyone's got caught up over here, and the delivery finds him. There's a couple of other points I'm going to make at the end as well about team shape and the system, because so what Newcastle are basically doing is stop people say low block, they're idiots. Like if someone says low block, double pivot, high line, they're idiots. Don't ever listen to them. They are morons. Okay, so what they're doing is they're actually just keeping themselves in the game, just trying to see what happens. And a lot of times, if you keep yourself in games and you don't give up goals and you're very, very well sort of structured, you can absolutely end up winning a team, beating a team 4-0 because the other team's beating themselves. Couple of individual mistakes, knocking the ball over his own teammate, slipping, not being strong enough, and all of a sudden you've got yourself some goals and everyone's going, oh, it's 4-0, you're the greatest ever, you're back. Not really. You kept yourself in the game and you did well. But let's just look at this as it comes across. Bosch. Pretty much a free header, powering header. And again, the keeper. I'm not expecting him to maybe... right. I don't care if he saves it or not, but I care that he's in a position, body shape-wise, where he can dive for it. He's not. He's stretching to touch his toes. Yeah. Good goal. I do like a good corner goal because there are very few and far between when I actually like one. They're normally just bad defending. That's a good corner goal, though. They've scored it. But, I could probably go on for another hour or two just talking about team shape, structure, systems, and about why they're doing what they're doing. And it's never what people are thinking because they just don't understand football. I'll see you next time on Cash Yells at Premier League Defenders.